shows up in the next few minutes, they can catch up. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us at this AGM to recap the year that was 2020. We know it was an odd one and exciting in some ways and really difficult in others. So we can't wait to share with you what we were up to and talk a little bit about the year ahead as well. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping information for you guys about the Zoom webinar, but before we get going, I first want to invite Uzi Valiente, who's our Director of Government Relations, outgoing, to start us off with a land acknowledgement. So Uzi, go right ahead.
Hi, everyone. I think we'd like to acknowledge that we're on the territory of the Squamish Nation, that for thousands of years, the Squamish people have lived, harvested, and traveled throughout these lands, which span from Point Grey to Indian Arm in the south, to the confluence of the Sioux and Green Rivers just south of Pemberton, from there west to the headwaters of the Ilaho, and south, including all the islands in Howe Sound and the entire Squamish Valley and Howe Sound drainages. SORCA is unequivocal in its support of the nation's determinacy on its lands, and we're grateful to be able to ride and live as guests and stewards of this place of extraordinary beauty.
Awesome. Thank you, Uzi. So just a few notes before we dive in here. We did do a run through of this, but please bear with us if there are technological hiccups. We're new to the complexities of Zoom webinars and there's a lot of moving pieces, but we're going to do the very best that we can here to stay on top of things. So just a few housekeeping items for everyone who's here as a member and an attendee. As you probably noticed, your cameras are off and you're on mute. If you want to chat or get in touch with us, you can do so in the chat function. And you can decide if you're sending a message to everyone or just the panelists and co-hosts. And we'll have a few questions throughout the presentation where we're going to ask you to just give us some of your feedback in that chat function where it's more open-ended. We will also be doing a Q&A period after the year in review presentation. So if you have any questions that come up during that, please put those into the Q&A box specifically, not into the chat function. And when we get to that Q&A period, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can live, depending on how much time we have, but we won't be answering questions during the presentation itself, just because it's really hard to keep track of. When we get to the elections later on, each individual who wants to vote will need to do so from a different device. And this just is something that came up today because we know some people registered and might be watching this with, a couple of people in front of one screen. But if each person wants to actually have their vote count, they're going to have to log in on a different device because the polling function in Zoom only allows for one vote per device. So if that's the case and you have more people who do want to vote that are watching with you right now, they will just have to register individually. So basically one registration equals one vote. And if you're going to have to do that, I will in just a minute here put the Zoom link into the chat function so you can click that and get to it really easily and register. And for those of us who are joining us on the YouTube live stream, welcome. There is a bit of a lag, so you're seeing about a minute or two later than what's actually going on. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to write them there. We will be sort of monitoring that intermittently. If anything comes up that's a bigger question and we don't get to it, also feel free to just send us an email at info@sorca.ca and we'll get to that in the coming days. So with that, we will first do an approval of the agenda. So our agenda for the evening was the opening and land acknowledgement, then this approval of the agenda, then the approval of the 2020 meeting minutes, then we'll do 2020 in review, priorities for 2021, then we'll have that question and answer period, and the election of the 2021 and 2022 directors, and then we'll close. So what we're going to do right now is launch a little poll because we need approval from the members to pass this agenda before we proceed. So we're going to launch that poll. And if you can just click yes, you are in favor of passing the agenda or no, that would be great. So Vince, if you could launch that poll, please. Okay, so it should be, yeah, perfect. We see the votes coming in. Awesome. Good, good, good. Okay. So nobody voted no, which is great. So that was an easy pass. We'll go from there. So agenda has been approved. So then on to meeting minutes. So have a look at these. These are the meeting minutes from our AGM last year. If you have to blow up your screen a little bit, you might have to do that, sorry. So just have a look through there at what we talked about at the last AGM. Maybe you were there, maybe you remember some of this. And in just a second, we'll launch a poll to approve those. Okay, so I'll launch the poll. If you still need a second to review what's in there, that's okay. But if you're ready, you can vote now. Okay, great. Passed with flying colors. So the meeting minutes from last year are approved. So next up, we're going to start our 2020 year in review, and Jeff Norman, our president, is going to get us going. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Helen. And thanks everyone for coming in tonight. And thank you very much to specifically Vince and Helen for making all this IT stuff work. It's, as we say, it's the first time we've done this, and it's going off without a hitch, I hope. So 2020 was a year that we didn't expect, much like everyone in a lot of different parts of their lives. It's not how we expected to start the year or finish the year, but we rolled with it. So despite it being a year that we didn't expect, there were a lot of things that were the same as many years. Wanting to send out a big thanks, as always, to everyone who is out there building and maintaining trails, volunteers, trail building companies, our trail crew, people who are cutting deadfall, working on drainage. We could not do this with the help of the entire community. So thank you so much. Another thing that was the same was we had a really dedicated executive this year. We started off the year and had a few meetings. But then once March hit, we really didn't see each other, which was other than over Zoom. I think I tried a few times to do socially distanced backyard meetings, but most of the time it was just over Zoom. So thanks to everyone for all their hard work this year. It's a full team effort to get everything done. But a lot was different this year. When March hit, and there was a global pandemic, none of us surprisingly had any experience of how to deal with a global pandemic as a trail association. a big thanks goes to Helen for this. Helen sent an email that she woke up angry one day at the very beginning when no one knew what was going on. And Helen, if you don't know Helen, she doesn't get angry at much. In fact, she is extremely patient, which is a really important part of this job. And so we kind of put our heads together and try to think, what does this pandemic mean for our trails and for our community and for our organization as well. And we came up with some guidelines. We haven't really looked back on them now, but regardless, those guidelines kind of caught fire, and we got them out on our social media. And I was looking back before this presentation of just what happened with that, and that those guidelines got shared throughout the world trail community, from like the Yukon to all over the U.S., Newfoundland, England, Tasmania, Korea, and not just the one or two in each of these places, all over the place. So good job, Helen, and good job, team, for taking a leadership role there. So when this year started, I thought there would probably be flying whales in Squamish before we had no events as SORCA. Events are such a big part of our organization. They, they're obviously a fundraiser, but for the most part, they're just there to build community, get everyone together. So without having events, it was tough to, tough not to see everyone, but we persevered. We also endured a full BC Park system closure for a few months. We really thought that, most of Diamond Head's out of the park, but we thought that this was going to shut off a bunch of Alice Lake. But then a bunch of Squamish figured out that they really like technical climbing and found a way to get into some of our major trails. So it didn't affect us that much. We were happy to advocate to BC Parks to get the parks reopened. And we're thankful that they were in good time. Membership went down. This was different. Ever since I've been involved in SORCA, membership's been climbing. We are still really thrilled about our membership total this year, more than 2,000 members. Thanks so much to everyone in the community who joined up, despite not having any events, which were a big part for a lot of people. So we're super thrilled. We had no idea when things started how many people were going to sign up, and with more than 2,000, we were really thrilled. Now, not all these differences this year were really bad. Some were fantastic. This is the year that Squamish got, Squamish got a few junks with hot tuna in prior years, but this is when we really got lots of jumps. Huge thanks to Dream Wizards for all their efforts on both of these projects, and to all the members of the community for everything they did. Mickey's Magic and the Jump Park are really going to be a lasting legacy for Squamish. So 2021 is also going to be very different. Aside from the global pandemic and what effects that might have on our organization and on our town and our biking community, we are also losing a lot of very important and valued board members. First off, James Ivory, our trail maintenance director. James started as a trail crew, worked his way up to lead the trail crew, and then came on as trails maintenance director. Thanks, James, for all your work on the trails committee and scouting new trails. I'm sure we'll see you around the community, and thanks, James. Jamie Hill. Jamie's youthful. We only had Jamie on for 2 years, and we couldn't do youth events this year, but Jamie also helped up a ton with our governance committee. Her enthusiasm and spirit are going to be sadly missed. Thank you, Jamie. Uzi Valiente. I worked really closely with Uzi this year on a lot of our major advocacy issues. Uzi was a model board member, and someone I definitely learned a lot from. We were very lucky to have someone of his talents on board. And we're also very lucky that Uzi is going to be staying on as volunteer staff and doing a lot of the same things that he's done all year as well. So thank you, Uzi. Roland's been part of this organization for so long. He's done a few different stints on as a director. Roland's got a really special passion for this town and a really special passion for doing things right, and something I've always respected about Roland. Thanks, Roland, for all your work on the Trails Committee and everything else you've done, and being a real good role model for this organization. Eric Goodwin. Eric is our second longest serving exec member. I know for a number of years before Eric took over the helm of Social Rides, we were trying to make the Social Rides really popular. We didn't really realize all we needed was a computer engineer to make that happen. Eric's addition to making our Social Rides really popular really opened up Sorka to a broader spectrum of the trail community, and I think it was a huge step for our organization. Thank you so much, Eric, for everything you've done. And finally, Melissa. Melissa has been such a big part of our organization in so many ways for so many years. She started off as membership director and then kind of became the voice and face of our organization. That's nothing to say about her loud voice, but when she ran the Toonies for so many years, she's also been our voice on social media all the time, and she's also an incredibly talented leader, as she's been for the last 3 years as vice president. Melissa is irreplaceable, but we're definitely gonna keep her involved as much as we can. Thank you so much, Melissa. So we're gonna do a little, just to get our polling going a little bit. We want to know a little bit about who's on here today. So I want to know, how many years have you been mountain biking? I can't see the results of that, Helen, but you can let me know.
I think Vince can share the results.
Okay. Well, look at that. Okay, we've got a lot of people who have been mountain biking for a long time, for longer than me. And next one we want to find out here is, how long have you been a Sorka member?
Okay, seeing all the results coming in here. There you go.
Okay, a few people in the 15 years plus category. That's awesome. Okay, next we're going to just go through kind of a summary of what we did for 2020, followed by a little plan of for 2021. So Helen's going to kick it off with talk about membership.
All right, thank you, Jeff. So like Jeff mentioned, membership went down just the tiniest bit, but given the year that everyone had, we're still so thankful for the incredible 2016 people who were still able to get memberships and give back to the trails. That number is still about 10% of the population of Squamish, which is pretty impressive given that it's a voluntary membership. So thank you guys so much for supporting us like this. And we do know that not all of our members live in Squamish. Some live up and down the corridor, and some are national or international visitors who say that coming to Squamish is usually a highlight of their year. And sadly, most of those out-of-towners weren't allowed to come visit us this year. So we're doubly thankful that they still felt compelled to support our work, and we hope they can visit again soon. This was the first year that we introduced a new auto-renew feature. We did that in Spruce last year. Oh, Marianne, you can go back a slide. And that made a significant difference. So membership is a pretty big source of revenue for us. And over 650 people actually signed up for the auto renew, which meant that renewals for 2021 for these folks went through at the start of December. And that gave us a really great secure footing to start the year with. Not to mention everyone else who's already signed up, putting us at over 1,000 members as we head into February. And this is pretty unusual because we usually don't see these bigger numbers until about April when event season gets going. So that's been really awesome to see. And with that, I'm wondering if you guys out there in the audience have any ideas about how to continue building our membership base. Like, we're so impressed with how many we already have, but we're always looking for ways to appeal to new people who are interested in being members. So if you do have any ideas about different things we could do to get members on board, please feel free to type them into the chat function and just make sure it's set to everyone if you want to share your idea with all the panelists and attendees. So I'll just give you a second to do that in case you've got ideas. And if you can't think of them now, you can always send them to me in an email, because I always love to hear people's ideas and feedback. Perks to Circa members, awesome. Yeah, so we've got our membership discount program, which is amazing. Lots of great local restaurants and bike shops and various other businesses who offer discount. Yes, there is. I see that there's some attrition. So there has been attrition this year for sure since we went down in membership. It looked like we probably lost around 100 to 200 people who weren't able to sign up again, and then new people who did join up. Okay, engage membership and governance more. Yeah. Ownership and collective future. Partner with the hotels in the area to notify guests about Sorka. That's great. Free forehead tattoos for lifetime members. Excellent. Partnerships with running stores and running community for trail maintenance. Yeah, for sure.
I do tattoos in my garage if anybody wants them.
Great. These are all great ideas. Thank you, guys. So we'll be sure to copy these out of the chat at the end of the event so that we've got them to work on. Uzi, you've got a taker.
Awesome.
Awesome. School reminders, member exclusive items. Okay, and advertise better what we're already doing. Circle license plates. I like it. Okay, so I'll let you guys keep going there. If you have more ideas, feel free to put them in there. Bike raffle, yeah, that's a popular one for sure. But I'll move on to governance while you guys put your stuff in there. So governance. This might seem like a less exciting aspect of our work, except for Nick, who expressed that it should be really exciting, and I agree. It's super critical to making things run smoothly. So our governance committee has been slowly chipping away at a number of important policies this year, which help to guide our directors and staff through the day-to-day workings of what we do, and also the bigger decision-making that we have to do as a board. And our end goal with these is always to make sure that we operate transparently and effectively and efficiently. So some of these have actually been in place for years, but were just never written down. It was just sort of an understood thing. So getting them on paper has been really important. And in the last year, we finalized a code of ethical conduct for staff and board members, a board member compensation policy, and a conflict of interest policy. And we also were able to formalize a volunteer builder policy to help clarify the funding opportunities that we have available for volunteer trail builders and maintainers. And we're also in the midst of developing a contractor selection policy, which we hope to have finalized soon. And this will guide decision-making for any projects where we need to source an external contractor, just to make sure everything is transparent and fair. So that's governance. And moving on to events. So we were obviously really sad this year that we weren't able to host our usual events. We know that's what really brings the community together, and we miss those a lot. And our team of event directors brainstormed pretty hard to think of ways to get creative. And unfortunately, every time we thought we were getting somewhere, COVID kind of hampered a lot of our ideas. But we were super thankful for the things we were able to do. So we were able to host some really awesome trivia nights and a virtual social with Trail Forks badges. So thanks to everyone who made that possible, our partners and sponsors, and to everyone who participated in those. And of course, we're hoping that in 2021, there might be a little more room to play. We're not exactly sure what that looks like yet, but stay tuned. And of course, we were so happy that we were able to host 28 trails, because this is a legacy event. And fortunately, the event's format actually makes it pretty easy to run in a COVID-friendly way. So we loved the turnout that we got for this event and all the photos that we got back from it. It looks like a lot of folks had a really good time. And like always, we had great fun making the signs and putting them up into the wee hours of the night before the event. So thanks to all who participated and made that possible. And next up, we've got our supporters. So obviously, we could not make this happen without all these amazing partners and supporters in the community who fund what we do and contribute in various ways. So all these partners that you see here helps make what we do possible, in addition to our awesome members. A huge thank you to everyone who donated and sponsored us this year, no matter what the amount was. You know, we know that there was a big downturn in tourism and tough times for many hospitality businesses and many businesses across the board. So the fact that so many folks still made a contribution to the trails was really amazing. And we know folks got pretty creative in how they were able to do this. So all these partners and supporters that you see on here are also on our website, so you can check them out there. And we do regular shout outs on our social media as well about just what they've got going on, and also if they've got some kind of creative fundraiser going on for SORCA. So make sure you check out all these businesses and learn what they're up to. And I do want to just do a special thanks to two of our biggest financial sponsors. One Up Components came through with more than they ever have for us, which is, again, amazing given that it's been a COVID year, as did the Squamish 50 running race, which is super impressive considering they didn't even get to actually run their race this year. They still managed to fundraise more than they ever have for SORCA and for the trails. So thanks to those guys. And again, thank you to every other business on here who made such a difference this year for us. We also benefited from grant funding and government subsidies. So we got our yearly grant from the District of Squamish, which makes a huge difference to our trail maintenance program and, you know, gives us the comfort and sustainability we need to make sure we can run our trail crew year over year and make sure those trails are getting maintained. We also got funds from the BC Rural Dividend Fund for maintenance in the Diamond Head, and Canada Summer Jobs Funds and Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, which made the trail crews work possible as well. So thanks to all our supporters. Finances. So we'll post a version of this up on the website if you want to have a look at it again later. Oh, this, Marianne, was there one before this on finances, or was it after?
Yeah, I think that one was earlier. So do you want me to go back?
Yes, please.
Okay. This one?
Oh yeah, I don't know how that ends up there. Strange. Okay.
It's a game. It's a game.
Okay, so we'll do this one and then we'll go back to that other one. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we're in a good position financially this year, and we could not be more grateful for that. In March of this year, we had no idea what was going to happen. I think March 13th hit and we all went, oh my God. So we kind of went into emergency mode. We scaled back all our budgets to the bare minimum and sort of prepared for the worst. You know, we didn't know if any of our usual partners and sponsors would be able to contribute in the same way. We didn't think anyone was going to buy a membership. And we sort of made ourselves feel okay about it because we've been building up an operating reserve fund. And, you know, a pandemic was exactly the kind of thing that you want to have those funds for. So we were really grateful that we'd been doing that and building up this reserve fund. That said, as we've already seen, we had so many people step up to get memberships and donate and sponsor. And we got these grants and government subsidies to carry us through. So we're actually ending the year in a really solid position, which means we've got a great buffer for the next year or two ahead, which makes me feel really good because we know there's still a lot of unknowns ahead. We don't know what 2021 looks like or what could be coming. So these funds are really important for potential bigger projects in the coming years. And we want to keep putting aside some of these funds each year in anticipation of this. So you can see a comparison here between 2019 and 2020 to get a picture of the things that changed during a pandemic year and where we were able to keep things consistent. So just a couple of notes if you're looking at these and wondering where some of the changes are, things like we started paying a bookkeeper as the role was too much for the volunteer treasurer role alone. We had some external contractors, lawyers, etc., reviewing things for us. We were able to bring on a community engagement coordinator in the fall. That's Vince. Myers went down a little bit. And we also paid more in contractor fees so that we could get local trail builders out doing projects. So that number went up since 2019. And if you have any questions, but we'll again, like I said, we'll get these up on the website in the next couple of days if you want to review. And if you have particular questions, feel free to reach out and ask. Okay, and then Marianne, you can go back to that other one. So here you can just see what our net financial position is at the end of the year. You'll see that we have restricted funds and unrestricted funds. So we've got our operating reserve. We have the conservation fund, which is for advocacy projects and potential conservation projects in the future. And we contribute to that on a yearly basis to keep growing that. We also put some funds in reserve for bigger capital projects, as well as grant funds reserved for particular purposes, like the funds that came from BC Rural Dividend, which are specifically for maintenance on the Diamond Head trails, and we didn't spend it all in one year. So those are going to be in reserve for the year coming up. And specifically too, when we talk about capital projects, these are the bigger projects that we need to be saving up for over a couple of years because they're bigger investments. So we wouldn't be able to just pull from our operating reserve in 1 year to be able to make something happen. So we're just, pulling it all together so we can do some cool things in the future. All right, that's it for finances. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Ellen. So trail work is obviously the foundation of our organization and what we raise the most funds for. This year, I say we scaled back our trail crew a little bit in the beginning of the year just because we had no idea what was going to happen. So we completed more than 3,300 hours of work. Huge thanks to Dave and Ben and Daphne and Louis out there. They worked all over the place. So they did make bigger projects like adding that new bridge on Tracks from Hell, to helping out with Mickey's Magic, to a little rebuild on Cam and Phil's that Ben did, to the new drop on another roadside attraction, to just general maintenance, clearing, drainage and dirt work. We're really lucky to have a really talented, experienced trail crew in-house. We also did use contractors a lot this year for some of the bigger projects. Through the Looking Glass was one that was a bit of a different project for us, where we partnered with the Squamish Trail Society and Polygon Homes to bring that, and through a grant from the Trans-Canada Trail. And Dream Wizards did a great job on that. So that was a big one. Obviously, Mickey's Magic, we got a ton of donated time. Half Nelson's been in a few years rebuild, and there'll be some more work on that next year. Same with Sudasuga. So yeah, all in all, it was a big year for trail work for us. And because of our strong financial position, we're looking forward to even more next year. So to kind of guide our trail work, I just kind of had this question I wanted to hear from members. I've been on the trail maintenance side of things for a number of years now, because I was the trail maintenance director before I came on as Fred. And I kind of want to know, are people's trail use habits changing? Are you riding the same type of trails as you did 3 or 4 years ago? If you could just kind of throw some answers in the chat here. Are you just riding gravel trails now? More easier trails, harder trails? What are people riding? What are you looking for? What are things changing? How do you see them changing in the future? Some good stuff there. Some people, I guess, pulled things back to mellower trails because of the pandemic, which was fantastic. Big shout out to the senior smoothers, part of the Squamish Trail Society. We're doing a lot of gravel work. People are enjoying trails for, some people are enjoying technical trails, some are enjoying trails for young kids. 2020 was a big blue trail year, moving back to black in the future. Okay, lots of great stuff here. Keep that stuff coming. Join the progressive jump lines, flow tech. That's a trendy word, Todd. Very, very nice. Thank you, Todd. Okay, that's great. Yeah, keep that stuff coming. And we'll copy out slabs. Good thing about slabs, they don't require a lot of maintenance. Okay, next slide, please. Advocacy. This is Uzi.
Yeah, so last year was a big year for advocacy. The next 2 years are going to be even bigger. Advocacy really encompasses a lot of different things. So it encompasses engaging with stakeholders. It means engaging all levels of government. So the district, the regional district, the province, and Squamish Nation as a government of its own. So there's that aspect. And then there's really, this is about listening, because there's a lot of stuff going on in our community, as you've heard from what's going on with trail work, what's going on with, well, not events so much this year, but basically in terms of all the development that's happening in our area. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it really requires a lot of listening. So I'm just going to drill down into a couple of the highlights this year of what we worked on. So one is our sort of engagement with Squamish Nation, which has been pretty fantastic. So our relationship with the nation is growing. We're gaining a better understanding of how they work, what values they're bringing to recreation and land utilization. They understand, are gaining an understanding of what we're doing. And there's one area where we're really starting to collaborate in some consistent way, and that's around our youth program. So we brought on Matt Van Oostum, who is a teacher at Cultural Journey School, and he's also a mountain bike coach with Dialed In, as well as coaching Nation Youth. And we've now brought him in with effectively a volunteer staff position as our coordinator for Squamish Nation Youth cycling and recreational activities. And so there's some specific objectives that we have with the Nation Youth program, and that's personal growth for youth, developing mountain bike skills and athleticism, an avenue for education, to build a relationship with the existing mountain bike community for the Nation Youth to do that, and mentorship. And then over time, getting them engaged from going from just being riders to becoming coaches, and then building capacity within the nation for riding, and also engaging them in trail building. So super exciting stuff with the nation, and it's only going to increase in the next 2 years as we start to work together on a number of projects that go beyond just youth and mountain biking. Another aspect that consumes a lot of time, but generates some very positive results is working with private landowners. And that includes working with them for continued access, for doing maintenance, but also working with landowners that are in the process of developing their land. So North Crumpet Woods is going through a planning process right now. There will be development happening there, and we're engaged with the developer there. And of course, we have an ongoing relationship with the Chima family for district lots 509 and 510. One thing I would say about working with landowners is, things aren't always perfect, but between our efforts, the community's efforts, and the landowners' efforts, the bumps that we do encounter, we manage to clear those TTFs with, not too much trouble, and actually have some very positive outcomes, which I think folks can see. Community forest. So we've got an application in with the community forest. The community forest is still in the process of establishing itself and getting fully operational, but it's going to have a lot of determinacy on what happens on some very big swaths of real estate in Squamish. It's jointly governed by the district and the nation. And I think it really provides an exciting opportunity to plan what's going on there, working in collaboration with us, other trail users, Squamish Forestry, and of course the Squamish Nation government and the district government. So the community forest is a really, really good thing, but it's going to take some effort to make it work. The big forthcoming project is an inventory of the trails, the trail network in Squamish, getting an understanding of everything that we have. The next phase of that work, not necessarily part of the inventory, we'll be doing planning for the future. Again, that then goes into what's happening with development, goes into what's happening with the community forest, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a vision of where we're going, what things we potentially might lose, what we might gain, how we might gain it, what do we want to plan for, which then feeds into our advocacy for gaining access to areas where we think there's opportunities for a win-win in terms of building new trails or maintaining or refurbishing existing ones. The last thing I want to cover is we had a pretty cool summit with all of the trail associations in the corridor. So NSMBA, ourselves, WORCA, PORCA, and a lot of cross-pollination of ideas around membership, potentially working together on some cool membership opportunities. Some of this got a bit derailed with COVID. And then also talking about how we manage the various issues that we've got with Squamish, probably having the most pressing issues related to development and relationships with land use, and also our engagement with First Nations, which we're going to be working more closely with NSMBA because they too are in Squamish Nation territory. Based on my introduction, you would know that they were also in the Squamish Nation. So we're going to be working closely with them on some of the things we've been engaging in our community up here. So that's kind of an overview. The plan for advocacy is I'll be moving, as Jeff mentioned, into a volunteer staff job. I won't be putting in any less time. And we're going to be bringing on a director. Tonight is the election, of course, so that we've got more horsepower to deal with these issues in the next 2 years. So should be a pretty exciting time. Jeff, that's it for me.
Thank you, Uzi. Next two slides are just a little background on some of our history.
Yeah, I would just these two slides are basically cover a presentation that we did to the Rights and Titles Committee of Squamish Nation. So I think it was the first time, at least since I've been in Squamish, that a formal presentation was done to a level of governance within the nation. And this slide here basically talked about our history with the nation and what we plan for the future, which is what I talked about earlier, building institutional capacity within the nation, so they become able to coach their own youth and run events and partake in everything that we do, and we can partake in everything that they're going to be doing on mountain biking, trail use, trail building, and of course advocacy.
So 2021. We've got a lot of big plans for 2021, a lot of things that we hope are going to happen. So I'm going to go through a few initiatives here. And the first thing I want to caveat is these are all just proposals. These are things that there are applications either by the government or by SORCA that to happen, but we're still waiting for feedback and feedback from other stakeholders such as Squamish Nation, the district, forestry license holders, other trail users are kind of dictate what happens here. So one big one here is DeBeck's Hill. So the actual reason that I started getting involved with SORCA was because there's constantly this narrative that we've got 200 or 300 kilometers of trails, and only a few kilometers of them are in provincial parks or in very little in district parks. So we've been working for a number of years with the provincial government, looking at ways to kind of elevate the importance of Squamish's trail system. So one of the things we've been working with Alistair McCrone, our district restoration officer at Rec Sites and Trails. And in the coming months, he's going to be putting in a proposal for a recreation site on DeBeck Hill. So now, from a trail user point of view, there's not a lot that is going to change. This isn't a site there's any camping at or anything like that. It's just a way to kind of delineate this whole area as recreation and show everyone that recreation is one of the most important things that's going on here. So along with this, there's going to be some new trails established, mostly to manage traffic in the area. Obviously, Jack's Trail is a really core arterial trail that is, especially as Squamish grows, is used by a ton of trail users. So it's going to there's a few number of trails proposed. Again, all of these are just proposed and based on feedback from all the other stakeholders is whether it gets established. So we look forward to that happening in the future. Mickey's Magic. Mickey's Magic was an incredible hit this year. We were so happy to be able to help partially honor the memory of a wonderful young woman through this trail. It was, the idea behind it was to find something progressive that everyone can enjoy. Ted Tempany described it to me as. So we want to keep it going. There's a great little section of Mixon Forest and out in the open as it continues down to the Northside Connector / Garibaldi Park Access Road. So we put an application into the province for that in the fall, and looking forward to hearing back from them, and hope to get the community together to make this even more special project. Lower Diamond Head parking. So this is kind of being on the table for a number of years, just trying to expand this. We had to go back and revise our initial design to try to find a way to incorporate more cars. The first design iteration only doubled it in size, which clearly isn't going to be enough. So a big thanks to Hedberg and Associates to put something together for us, donated a design that'll allow up to 100 cars in the area. There's also a bunch of infrastructure proposed as part of this. We put the application in earlier in the fall to the government, and we are waiting to hear back. And we're hoping to reach out to local governments, and they are so far at a high level supportive of the project. They see the need to try to get some funding for it. Because we don't want to put all SORCA trail dollars towards this, as this is used by the greater community. One thing to note is that the lower Sudasuda parking lot will actually be closed and the trails accessing it starting tomorrow for a few weeks, because that Garibaldi Park forest fire fuel management project is continuing, and they're taking down a bunch of trees with some heavy machinery and using the parking lot as a staging area. So we'll get a post on that on social media and our newsletter in the next few days. But watch for signage. So there's a whole ton of other project initiatives that we're working on. Brandon Park Skills Park obviously needs to be upgraded. There was a great start on that this year, rebuilding the entrance launch pad. We've been advocating and actually put an application in to BC Parks to try to find a way to basically get a way for beginner and intermediate riders to return back to the Alice Lake campground. Obviously, Pamplemousse was a great addition, but we need something that's also going to be easy for beginner and intermediates. BC Parks is looking at a lot of options for that right now. So we hope that's something that's going to be forward there. As Uzi mentioned, there's some sub-area planning going to be happening in the Valley Cliff area. The trails inventory, which is going to lead to planning, that's going to be a big one. So really want everyone to get engaged in that this year. That's huge. You know, as a trail user, we kind of say, oh, well, I know what all the important trails are in the area. But every time I've gone in and spoken with, government stakeholders and land managers, and I said, oh, this trail is really important to us. And, I kind of get an eye roll and say, well, every trail is really important. So going through a bit of a more formal process with the community. And again, this is supported by the SLRD and the District of Squamish to identify what is important to our community. What can be replaced, what can't be. That's really important. So it's going to be necessary for everyone to get engaged once that launches. We're also, there's a number of trail projects that we work on using our internal in-house trail crew and local kind of contractors. But we also, one of our big things is supporting volunteer trail builders. As Helen said, one of the policies we passed this year is something we've been doing for a lot of times, trying to cover expenses and help to facilitate volunteer trail builders getting out there, and that's what's made Squamish an awesome place to ride bikes. So there's at least 2 projects, and I'm not going to say where they are. I'm going to leave that up to them. That we're kind of committed to supporting through our trail crew and covering expenses up in the hills this year for 2021. So that is all I have for now. I think we're gonna go into a little question and answer now. So
that's correct. Thanks, Jeff. So before we jump into elections, we want to do that question and answer period to give people a chance to get their questions answered. So if you have a question that's come up during this presentation, please feel free to put it into the Q&A section. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Just put your questions in there if you've got any, and we will answer them live now. So just take a moment if you've got anything there. Or maybe we did such a good job that we've answered all your questions already. And again, if questions come up after this is all done, and you're like, that's what I wanted to ask. Again, you can always email us at info@sorca.ca and we'll get back to you with the answer. Okay, so far nothing. Oh, here we go. We got one. Okay, so Belinda's monitoring these, so I'll let her take over.
Okay, so I'll grab that first one from Jordan. Trail utility rating system, consider factors. Yeah, I mean, we're working with Cascade Environmental on the project, so there's going to be a whole bunch of factors that we're when we look at the trail inventory about how they're important. Upkeep is going to be one of them. But like, trail characteristics is going to be a big one, like ensuring that we have enough technical trails, ensuring that we have enough beginner trails, ensure we have enough forested trails, a lot of aspects.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, not everyone can see the question. So the question there was trail inventory. Have you considered using a trail utility rating system that considers appropriate factors such as popularity, upkeep demands, features, connections to other trails, etc.? That was the question.
And then Ren, any plans to application to work with provincial parks to enlarge the 19th hole parking lot? Likely not at this stage. I think there's that area just above there. I know it's a pretty tough corner to get up, but at this point we haven't really considered that. Obviously, the parking lot at the bottom of Half Nelson we'd like to expand that as well, because there's a lot of people on the road. But the lower one, and I'm just answering a question from Johnny Lloyd here, can we confirm the location of the parking lot expansion? The one that we're currently, the application is for is the Suda parking lot. And the expansion is just basically quadrupling that parking lot inside.
Uzi, do you want to take this one? I don't know if you can see that about Chima.
Sure. So someone's asked about the Chima lands and what the community can do to work with the DOS to manage that issue. I mean, I think our relationship with the Chima family is very good. There was a planning process, a high-level planning process that we went through to identify the trails on district lots 509 and 510. Of course, with this inventory work we're doing, we're going to update that and do a little more of a detailed drill down on that using some of the factors that were mentioned earlier. And that will feed into the district's process. From our perspective, the Chimas have committed to about 200 acres to put that into a reserve. We are looking to work with the Chimas and the district on what the process for that will be. So right now, I would say the ball's in Sorka's court in terms of the trail inventory work that Jeff's been talking about, and we'll keep the community updated on how that's going. But I think, at this point, we have some work to do on behalf of the district, and which will also feed into what the Chimas are trying to do on their land. So I think that's where things are right now. So it's a kind of, for our membership, it's wait and watch what we produce.
Okay, a few more there. Someone has asked, how does mitigation of impacts to wildlife factor into Sorka's plans? Obviously, we want to be an environmentally sustainable community. We're not biologists, so we rely on the knowledge of people, when we're making applications to the province for new trails, for example, we rely on the expertise of the province and the biologists there to tell us, well, no, that's not a suitable place from a wildlife perspective. And we also rely on information that the Squamish Nation has, and they'll provide information to that process as well. So those are kind of two important sources for us. For that, from Curtis Bennett, has any sort of strategic mountain bike trails plan be discussed? Similar to Whistler has done. So Curtis, this inventory project that we're working with Cascade on, and it's been supported by the DOS and the SLRD, that is kind of the beginning of a planning process. We got to make sure that all of our land managers have the capacity to kind of enter into a planning process. But the first step is basically in any planning process is identifying what we have now, and then trying to figure out how we move forward. So that really is kind of the beginnings of that process. And then what about a skills park / place to practice drops for different levels? There is, so then, that's something we can consider expanding at Brandon Park when we try to update that. We're also, there's been a bunch of ideas circulated about adding that to kind of the Mickey's Magic area. as well when that expansion comes in. So that's a possibility as well. Okay. Have you thought about putting up this trail is staining signage to help users understand what they're getting or not losing with the Chima project? That's not something that we've considered as MOATS, but that's something that we might be able to work with the Chima family to identify. Because what they're proposing is going to protect a lot of trails, that's for sure, in the future. So that's something we'd want to work with them on if they want to propose that. Of course, the district and a lot of other stakeholders are going to give input to that plan. So we don't know for sure everything that's going to happen, but that's something we can consider. Okay, I think we'll probably cap it after these two more. How do we manage support the District of Squamish with issues on car volume and parking throughout the residential areas connected to our trailheads? I think that planning the trail network for the future is kind of what we can do best there. If we can get really good trails that connect right down to the highway, that's going to be the best option for encouraging people to kind of come right off the highway. There was obviously some speed limits that got decreased in the boulevard and the Highlands that was really important. But yeah, I mean, it's a well planned out trail network with lots of trailheads. And unfortunately, it's, part of this is difficult because land, as we all know, is very expensive in Squamish, and trailheads have to go on public land at this stage. So, but yeah, hopefully as we plan the network for the future, we can improve on that. And then how about more trail hubs with parking in the valley? I'm assuming that what people are meaning is that's down in the valley bottom, not in the Highlands. And yeah, that goes along with the same answer as the last time. We obviously can't control, we can communicate and encourage people the best that we can to park down low. But that's all we can really do.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. And there was one question as well, just in the chat function there about social events for this year, given the amount of uncertainty with COVID. I think COVID Summer of Enduro. So it's definitely a wait and see game. I mean, our number one priority has always been to adhere really carefully to the provincial health guidelines and make sure that we're being respectful of that and really managing risk as best we can. So we're keeping a close eye on every update that Bonnie Henry gives. And, I think we'll definitely be looking for creative ways to try and get people out. And if that can't look like the traditional social events, we'll again be looking for ways to maybe do things in a smaller format, again, like virtual things where we can encourage people to get out on their own time. But we'll be working with our directors, the event directors, just to figure out what that might look like. And if you've got ideas about creative ways to get people engaged without this sort of standard social format, please feel free to email us because we're always keen for ideas. Oh, and someone asked about the one virtual social ride, Cinco. There just wasn't there was pretty successful, but there just wasn't a ton of appetite for more from the group on the whole. So if that's something you want to see more of, we can definitely look into doing more of those if that's something you love. So if it's something you love, send me an email and we'll bring that forward to the group and try and do more of those. Okay, thank you guys for your questions. Again, any other questions come up, just email us at info@sorca.ca, but we'll cut off the questions there for now and get to the elections just to keep things going here. Okay, so exciting part of the night, election time. Just a reminder, if you're watching as a family or if you've got a couple people watching on one screen, Each member who wants to vote needs to actually register and get their own link to sign on to an individual computer or device to vote. So one registration equals one vote. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of each position as we go. And each candidate for the role will have 2 minutes to give you their pitch about who they are and why they're a great fit for the role and for SORCA. And then you'll vote on that role in a poll. And I'll just announce the winner like we usually do in the in-person AGM. We don't share the results in numbers. We just say, and so won. So I'll do that, and then we'll move on to the next vote. And vote based on who you think is going to do the best job for the organization, based on what they're telling you and what you know about the role. In a couple of cases, we have people running for multiple roles. So if they're elected to one, they'll be removed from the subsequent category. And if they're not, then they'll still be eligible in that subsequent category. All the candidates are listed on our website, so you can follow along there. It's under our news heading, in case you want to be reading their bios as well. And we're going to go in the same order that they're listed there. So actually right now, I'm just going to ask candidates as we go, when your role is coming up, I'm going to ask you to hit the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen when your role comes up, so that we can easily find you and convert you to a panelist so that you can talk. So first up, we have the Government Relations and Advocacy role. So this is the role that's been filled by Uzi for the last 2 years. And the person in this role will be liaising with multiple levels of government. They need to have a strong understanding of the public policy process when it comes to land use planning, development, and finance. They'll also be cultivating our developing relationship with the Squamish Nation and must be willing to learn how the nation governs and administers itself. They'll be liaising with local developers and other land managers and owners, and they must be able to manage adversity in a non-confrontational manner and manage politically and informationally complex issues. And we've got some really skilled candidates for this role, which is really exciting. So it looks like we've got all 3 of our candidates here. Excellent. So I am going to invite Debbie Dos Santos to give us her 2-minute spiel. So Debbie, go for it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Helen. Can everyone hear me okay? You can hear me good? Audio's good? Okay, awesome. So I've got 2 minutes here to let you know a little bit about myself for this role. It's a, as you can hear, it's a very robust role that requires a very diverse skill set, but I'm excited to be a candidate for this. I feel that my background is going to be a really good fit for this role. That being said, I've seen the background of the other candidates, and SORCA is going to do great no matter what. So I'm just really excited for the coming year. My background, just a little bit for you, is I was a registered nurse for a long time. And then when my kids were old enough, I went back to school and got my law degree. I've been a lawyer for just over 12 years, practicing mostly in an in-house capacity. Most of my career has covered regulated sectors, so healthcare, energy, mining, and now in construction. And that is where I think a really good fit will be is my experience in the construction industry with permits and regulatory matters and First Nations issues is, I think, going to inform this role very well as some of the work I've done throughout the years in bringing together multiple stakeholders, usually with competing interests. That requires a bit of some patience and respect, obviously, for everybody at the table. So that's pretty much everything I can tell you in 2 minutes without going into too much detail on anything, one in particular. So I guess that's about it, Helen, unless there's anything else you want me to talk about. I feel like, is that okay? What I've said so far? You think it's
Yeah,
really
that's
helpful
great.
for folks?
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, whatever you feel is valuable, and that's wonderful. I think you've summed up your background really well. So,
Great.
yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so next up we have Kyle Marsh. Kyle, go for it.
Thank you very much, Helen. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, so originally from Vancouver Island, Victoria area. I've been living in Vancouver for the last 5 years or so, and recently had the opportunity to move up to Squamish. Perhaps one of the few good things to come out of the pandemic was the opportunity to finally make the move up here because of all of our new work from home and working by distance setups. So been very excited to join the community. Been a long time visitor to pick up the Great Trail Network in the area. And now that I've moved up, I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to lend my skill set, my experience to help support the organization and the community, both biking community and the community of Squamish. Little did I expect to see two other great candidates with really applicable and impressive skill sets put their names forward too. So, whatever happens, I'm really excited to be supportive of the organization however I can and help the community grow. And yeah, just really want to try and make sure that we have one of the best mountain biking areas in the world continue here in Squamish. For my professional background, to give you a bit of an idea, I've spent about 5 years working as a part of the provincial government in Victoria. And then I've been working as a government relations consultant for about 5 to 7 years or so now, both as a consultant and most recently with TELUS. So lots of background engaging with the provincial government, with Indigenous communities and nations, and actually as a consultant, I did a lot of work with nonprofit and industry associations. So have a bit of experience working with organizations in Africa. So excited to support however I can, and best luck to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. All right. And next we have Brennan Williams. Brennan, go.
Hi, folks. I'd like to start off by echoing Uzi's acknowledgement that I'm joining you today from the unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. Thanks, everyone, for being here tonight and doing your part to be part of this meeting and elect a new board, or several positions, I guess. Really excited for this opportunity. Like Kyle and the other candidate said, there's some amazing folks up for election tonight. So thanks all for putting your name forward. There's some big shoes to fill for this position. Uzi's done a fantastic job, it sounds like, and it's pretty special to see that the relationship with the Squamish Nation is one of the clear priorities that's identified by this organization and put forward in the minutes that we all approved this evening. So with that, a little bit about myself. I currently work in the realm of Indigenous relations within government. I'm a regional negotiator with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, which means that I'm responsible for negotiating reconciliation and treaty agreements with Indigenous groups all over the province. What that entails is, negotiations on really complex issues, and it involves local governments, provincial governments, and federal government. And, there's some really sensitive issues for sure. But at the end of the day, there's always common ground to sort of be found between all of the parties in terms of where our interests are aligned. And the best way to find that common ground is definitely through building relationships. And it sounds like there's been a huge amount of work done this year to do that with the Squamish Nation. And of course, that's been done with the district for a long number of years. So I'd be really honored to put those skills to work towards something I'm really passionate about and see sort of tangible outcomes of that work in terms of getting out and enjoying the trails and seeing the trail network here grow. So I'll leave it there, but thanks all for being here this evening, and best of luck to all of the fellow candidates.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brennan. And thank you also, Johnny, for putting the link to the nominees in the chat there. If anyone wanted to follow along, that's there for you. Okay, so we are going to launch the poll to vote for this role, Government Relations and Advocacy. And there you go. We'll give you a minute to choose your candidate. Okay, so I can see them, Vince, just to let you know, I can see them all coming in. Okay. Okay, so the winner for this one is Brennan Williams. Welcome aboard, Brennan. And thank you to the others, to Kyle and Debbie as well, for putting your names forward for this role. This was a really stacked set of candidates with a really impressive background. So thank you guys so much. All right. Next up, we've got the vice president role. So this is a role that the legendary Melissa Sheridan was in for a few years. And the vice president is a bit of a Renaissance person. So they're helping to guide the direction of the organization in terms of programming and governance, providing support to other directors, working on strategic initiatives and projects. And this individual also works closely with myself as the executive director and the president to sort of steer the ship, so to speak. And they also fulfill presidential duties if the president is not able to. So chairing meetings, media inquiries, that kind of thing. And just so everyone knows, you'll notice that Mary Ann Taylor is running for the role. So she's currently on our board in the special events role, but she was keen to run for VP. So if she gets the VP role, then we'll evaluate what to do with that vacant board seat over the coming months. And if she doesn't get the VP role, she'll remain on the board in the special events role. So we're not booting her out just because she was interested in changing roles. So did all the VP candidates raise their hands? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so with that, I will welcome, we have Debbie DeSantos, who's running for VP as well. So Debbie, is there anything else that you would like to say for this role in particular?
Yeah, I think some of my background that I didn't find applicable to the other role would lend itself really well to this role, in that most of the last 5 years or so of my career has been in a senior leadership role in an in-house counsel fashion. And that's involved a lot of project management, strategic planning with the executive and leadership teams, and guiding teams on decision making and prioritizing and things, and also stepping into shoes of senior people when they're away. So I felt this might have been a good fit too. Again, like I said last time, I've seen the other candidates. Everyone's rocking it. So I think no matter what, Sorka is going to do really well. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Okay, next up we have Davy Mitchell. Davy, I'm just gonna ask you to unmute there, and then you should be good to go. Perfect.
Great, thanks. And thanks everyone. And a really special thanks to Melissa and Roland and Eric, who are, and the other outgoing directors. They've done a lot of amazing work over many, many, many years. And I know some of them are embarking on grand adventures, so I wish them the best of luck on that. I'm running for the vice president position to support and continue the excellent work that everyone on the board has been doing, and to help us support the Squamish community in maintaining this world-class trail system that we have for the next 100 years. Human-powered travel and respect for the land and the people that live on it are really important to me, so I hope to be a strong advocate for those issues. I've lived in Squamish since 2010, minus a brief hiatus where I moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where my wife is from. The snow is excellent there. The biking is not quite as good, but there I volunteered as an ambassador for Jackson Hole Cycling, where my goal was really to help build that relatively small organization into something similar to Sorka. And while I was there, my wife and I actually borrowed from the Hot on Your Heels idea here, and we co-organized our own event called Heels on Wheels. And we brought over 30 women together to meet new friends and ride new trails. So that was a lot of fun. As a professional engineer, I have over 10 years of experience in project management. My skills and experience are really in bringing together diverse stakeholder groups to execute really challenging projects. So I hope to bring those skills to this role. In addition to mountain biking, I'm really excited to see bike packing and gravel riding and cyclocross and perhaps even fat biking grow in popularity here, as those are all really big passions of mine and very near and dear to my heart. So with that, thanks for considering my nomination. I love volunteering and I really love to race and ride bikes, so I hope to do a bit of both of that with all of you in 2021.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Davey. And next up, we've got Marianne Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianne Taylor. I've lived in Squamish for the last 14 years, and now biking brought me here. I've been involved with SORCA since it came to town. I'm the founder of Girls Bike Squamish, and this group has been one of my ways of giving back to this awesome community. This volunteer-run group has brought hundreds of women together through our rides and clinics since 2008. Last year, I joined the SORCA board as a director of special events. Although our ability to be social was limited, I was able to organize 20 trails within our group here. In my professional life, I've been a registered nurse for the last 24 years. I've had different leadership roles in healthcare for about 17 to 18 years now, and lead with compassion, collaboration, and a very pragmatic approach with teams. I recently changed positions with our local health authority, and now I'm working closer to home, which will provide me with more time to support the wonderful initiatives with SORCA and spend time with my beautiful family. So I miss everyone. I wish I could see everyone right now. And I'm looking forward to riding with you in 2021.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Okay, so we will launch the poll now for the VP role. And there you go. We'll give you about a minute to get your votes in. Great. Okay. Any last votes needing to come in? Yeah, there's a couple more. Right. 15 more seconds. Okay, and our winner is Marianne Taylor. So Marianne, we're thrilled to have you on the board in a new role. And Debbie and Davey, thank you so much for running for the board. And I think I speak for everyone when I say that, you know, we love getting all the capacity we can. So if you're interested in volunteering in other ways, you guys have very impressive backgrounds and skill sets. So we'll definitely be in touch. And thank you so much for putting yourselves out there to run for the role. All right. Next up, we have youth engagement. So Jamie Hill was the first person in this role. We just started it 2 years ago, and she developed a great set of kids' socials and toonie rides last year. And unfortunately, we weren't able to run them this year, but this role has lots of potential to develop creative new youth engagement initiatives and get the kids out. And of course, we hope to have youth events again sometime soon. And we've got 2 candidates in this role, and it looks like they're both up on the docket. Wonderful. So first up, we've got Sanjay Carter Rao. Go for it, Sanjay.
Hello, I hope everybody can hear me well. It's a little weird doing this on Zoom. In preparing for this, I was kind of thinking how this format is a little bit like our trail network. Right now, the nodes of the network are invisible. I can't see anybody, but I hope there's some friendly faces out there. But hearing everything that SORCA's done, I know how wonderful and vibrant the network that's supporting all of these people is. So that's really awesome. My name is Sanjay Carter Rao. I'm an educator by trade and passion. I currently work at Skyridge Montessori. I'm sure a bunch of you have biked past there before. I'm pretty new to mountain biking, but in the last couple of years that I've been doing it, it's been a wonderful source of personal growth. I wanted to tell just a very brief story about my first interaction with kind of volunteering with SORCA in a very minor role. I was out riding trails on a rainy day, and I encountered somebody who was stopped on the side of the trail, and I wondered what was up, if they needed some help or anything. And I asked them what was going on, and they said that they were just emptying out some puddles, and they tried to do clear out 3 puddles every ride. And I just thought, and they said they wanted to spread a little bit of magic that way. And I thought that was an incredible community volunteer kind of example, and the rest of the ride. And I've tried to carry it forward. I've tried to do that on every ride. If there's a little piece of something that can be done on the way, I'd like to do it. The reason that I'm an educator is I care about the future and how we get there. I'm lucky enough to work alongside youth every day. And so I feel like that will give me a lot of valuable insight into their needs and wants. And I would really like to reach out to the youth themselves and see what ideas they have. A big part of my role as an educator is kind of cultivating community as much as possible. And I'd like to cater to the full range of youth in Squamish. I think everybody can benefit from just getting out in the woods and moving. And I think that there's some people who might just get out every once in a while to be in the forest. And there's some people who are very intensely devoted to the activity, who may be, racing at the World Series in the future or something like that. So that's a very big range, but I think everybody can really benefit from the wonderful network that we have here. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully I can volunteer in whatever capacity you all see fit in the future. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And next up, we've got Johnny Lloyd.
Hi, all good. So thanks for this. I've been lucky to spend the last 15 or so years creating experiences and memories for people visiting Whistler internationally. That chapter is now closed for me, so looking to move on to kind of a new project and having kids that I think serves youth engagement quite well. We've got so much potential here in Squamish with the kids, some excellent private partners, and there's so much we can do to fill those small, slightly missing gaps to kind of make sure we cover all the ages, all the abilities, and make sure those kids can progress through into young adulthood with whatever their focus is on biking. Youth engagement is super important to me. We've got such a good opportunity to breed active, happy kids and to help them develop that skill set that they need to enjoy a lifetime of riding. I think I'd make a great candidate because I have kids. I think that's important. It helps me understand what parents want, what parents need, and what they kind of hope for from programs and infrastructure, the things that SORCA hopefully can help deliver to those parents. I already have some experience in kids programs. I helped, along with another parent, a couple of years back, deliver 3 kids race events for SORCA. That was super good, super popular, I think. I think I have my finger largely on the pulse as to what's happening in the community as far as the trail network, the challenges we see, and the infrastructure potential. So it'll be super exciting to work with the rest of the new board on those things. Yeah, so just looking to help push those riders forward, get them engaged and get them excited. Thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Johnny. So 2 great candidates who are super passionate about youth engagement. And we will launch that poll now. All right, lots of votes coming in. I'll give you just a little bit more time here. Okay, about 10 seconds for any last votes people want to get in. Okay, so Johnny Lloyd is the new Youth Engagement Director. Johnny, welcome aboard. And Sanjay, thank you so much for coming out tonight and sharing your story with us. And again, hopefully we're able to connect with you sometime in the future. Okay, next up, we've got trails. So, Director of Trails, this individual is going to contribute to trail planning. They're going to scout and get permits for new lines, liaise with the community and the trail crew lead to prioritize projects as part of the Trails Committee. And they'll also be managing trail builds and or liaising with builders as required in partnership with our trail crew lead, Dave Reed. So we have two candidates here. Brandon Williams was also running for this role, but because he won in the other category, he will not be running here. So we've got Jay Burby and Nick Gottlieb. So Jay Burby, you are up first. Go for it. Jay, you're
There we
muted.
go. I'm there. The
There you
split
go.
thing, and I lost my mute button, and oh gosh, it's terrifying. Okay, here we go. Hi everyone, I'm Jay. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, here we go. As I said, I got into mountain biking growing up in Prince George in the late 90s. I was working at a bike tech in a local bike shop, and biking was a really big reason that I chose Vancouver University. There was lots going on the North Shore in the 90s. So I spent a few, I wouldn't say good years, coaching my definitely short, tall, not slack at all Brody around the North Shore. I've since now been up in Squamish full time since maybe 2016, although I spent a lot of time in the corridor climbing, skiing, mountaineering. And I've really enjoyed getting back into mountain biking. I find that quick rides during the day are much more compatible with family life. I've got a couple of young children, the long days in the mountains. Probably progress in the bike technology front helps a little bit as well. I'm on the trails around here most days and bike daily with my kids and all the weather Squamish has to offer. You see us zipping around town in a big red cargo bike, feel free to wave and say hi. Since becoming interested in this position, I've talked to a few outgoing members of the board to get a sense of what the position entails and what the priorities are. I would say they generally align with my own, namely protection and upkeep of our existing trail network, and of course, working to expand it. I've spoken to the trail crew lead, and I think I have a good sense of what their needs are and the skill set required to support them. From a skills perspective, as having been a basement bike tech, I'm an engineering physicist working part-time here in Squamish on a variety of applied physics projects. In short, I know how to make a plan, run a project, collaborate with multiple stakeholders, and keep things moving forward. I've lived in BC for my entire life in the Sea to Sky corridor for the past 25 years. I have a good understanding of the crown versus private land, resource extraction versus development, and the tensions around land use planning. I'm organized, personable, and I can read a map. I've get the chance to work on the board and be happy to answer any questions from anyone. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. Okay, and next up, we've got Nick Gottlieb.
Hey, folks. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Nick Gottlieb. I first rode in Squamish about 10 years ago on a $500 hardtail. I'm from the States, and I was really struck by how much bigger everything is in BC, especially the wet routes on the so-called green trails, which were at the dump. I've lived here full-time since 2017, although the first few years were in North Britannia, aka Valleycliff. And while I'm a much better mountain biker than I used to be, and my bike is an order of magnitude fancier, I'm still probably going to be one of the weaker riders on the board if I'm elected. But when it comes to long hike-a-bikes at high elevations or bushwhacking through Devil's Club, I have no doubt that I can hold my own. I want to join the SORCA board because I believe our community should have ownership over its future. We're often told that Squamish is changing and that growth is inevitable. And Squamish is changing and it is growing, but I think that through community organizing, we can ensure it changes and grows in ways that allow it to thrive, despite an increasingly uncertain global future. I think SORCA, as stewards of one of our biggest community assets, can be an important locus for this work. The team at SORCA has done amazing things over the years, and I'd like to help continue that. And I'd also like to help SORCA become a more democratically empowering organization. As members, we shouldn't feel like we're just paying to support the trails. We should feel like we're buying shares in the collective ownership of our community, its trails, and its green space. I hope to help Sorka engage our membership as co-creators of our collective future here. As Trails Director, I'm really excited to work with Dave or to have the opportunity to work with Dave and the trail crew to improve network connectivity, bring some new ideas to life, and work with partners like the district, the Squamish Nation, and the province to build out and maintain our trail infrastructure. I also recognize that Squamish's incredible trail network is at its core the result of decades of work by the unsung, unpaid community of trail builders that we have here. And I'm committed to doing everything I can to ensure that they have Sorka's full support to keep Squamish one of the best places to be a mountain biker in the world. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nick. Okay, so we're gonna launch this poll, and just remember not to vote for Brennan Williams. I didn't have time to change the poll over after he won the last one. So you can choose between Nick and Jay. And we'll launch that now. Right. Got a few more votes coming in here. Give you about 10 more seconds for any last votes. Okay. So our winner is Nick Gottlieb. Nick, congrats and welcome aboard. And Jay, thank you so much for running. We really appreciate it. And that's it for the positions where we had multiple people running. So the next 3 roles are being filled by acclamation. Each nominee ran unopposed. And for socials, we're really pleased to welcome Evan Power on as the new socials director. And we want to give him just a minute to say hi, because he's not new to the board, but new now because he's been gone for a few years. So Evan, if you just want to say hi to the group, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Evan. I've been a Sorka member for about 12 years. I've served as the volunteer director and before that as the vice president for a year. I'm really excited to be coming back to the Sorka board, especially in the social director role, because the socials are really important to me. And this will be an interesting year for socials because at least at first we'll have some COVID restrictions in place. Hopefully later on we'll be able to ride together in person. And until then, I hope we can organize some interesting and fun events despite the restrictions. I look forward to seeing you all out on the trails.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. And so for the fundraising role, our incumbent ran, and that's Belinda Grant. And she's been busy behind the scenes here dealing with technological things. But Belinda, if you have a second to just say hi to the crowd, that'd be great too. If not, don't worry about it.
Hi. I'm excited to come back again for another term, and yeah, sorry, I was not prepared to talk at all. I was planning on doing behind the scenes stuff, so I'm excited to come back for another term. So I look forward to seeing you guys all out on the trails, and we hope that this pandemic is over sooner rather than later, because we need our socials and our Sorka events back again. So thanks everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Belinda. Sorry to catch you off guard there. That was perfect. And then, I mean, you've heard a lot from Jeff tonight, but Jeff, if you have any words, Jeff's coming back as president. He ran unopposed as the incumbent. So.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I've talked more than enough tonight. Thanks so much for everyone who's come out this evening. We're definitely missing that community connectivity, and it's just even over seeing, almost 150 people here through the Zoom and the YouTube. It means a lot to us as board members that all of our hard work is valued by the community. So thanks so much for everyone coming out, and thanks to everyone who's volunteered for Sorka in the past and our trail network in any capacity. And Yeah, I'm honored and look forward to keeping going, steering the ship in any which way it goes. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, that is a wrap on our official business for the evening. Thank you guys so much for coming out and participating in this really sort of novel experience of a Zoom AGM. I know, as Jeff said, it's not the ideal. We'd love to see you all in person and get to chat. But we're really glad that everyone still took the time to come out virtually and participate in this. And we're really excited for 2021 and excited to welcome our new board members on and get to work. So as I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to email us info@sorca.ca. We'll be posting some of the things from tonight up on the website and through our social media over the coming days. And I believe this will also be available for replay in case you loved it so much you want to watch it again on YouTube over the coming days as well. Yeah, so thank you guys again so much, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. And I'm going to stay here for a bit because